Oh boy. Would you look at this beauty? Welcome back, everybody. My name's Matt. Behind me is a beautiful rusty relic here. This is a 1960 Brockway Husky semi-truck. At least that's what I've been told. This is actually my first time seeing it. I actually agreed to buy this truck back in the summertime, and I bought it without seeing it because, as you can see, we're kind of in some vegetation here. This truck is completely buried with all the leaves. I couldn't see this truck at all, and so it was kind of a struggle to get in here even without the leaves. So I just took the guy at his word, and I paid $500 for this truck, and I believe it's been sitting here for at least 30 years. No lies were told. He told me it was pretty rough, and it is. Right off the bat, I don't think we're going to be able to save this truck, and he didn't think I would be able to either. And I kind of just bought it, because I thought it would make a great video for you guys to see if we can't get this thing fired up. Everybody loves a good will it start. And the other thing I bought it for was just so that we could maybe save some of the good pieces, parts off of it. I don't mind, you know, having something sit around for a little while I try to sell the good stuff off of it, and then whatever's left we will junk at the end of this. Anyways, I was going to try to fire this thing up right where it sits and see if we could maybe somehow by a miracle drive it out of here, but it's really in here. I don't think we're going to be able to do that, so I'm going to try to pull this thing out where we can actually get to it and work on it and be able to walk around the thing, and then hopefully the engine's not stuck. Hopefully we can get this thing fired up. I'm told it has a 250 horse Cummins diesel under the hood, and for being a 1960, I believe that makes it an 855 Cummins. So yeah, let's see if we can't latch onto this thing and get it out of here. Looks like the bottom of the cab's all but missing. The top of the cab looks like Swiss cheese. The muffler's got holes all through it. The bottom's rotted off of it. But outside of that, she's cherry. I don't even know if this truck has spring brakes on it or not. No, it doesn't. Good. The airlines are all completely ripped off the brake chambers here. But this just has pancake chambers in the rear because this truck is old enough to where it would not have come with maxis. I don't remember what year it started, sometime in the 70s, but trucks were required to come with spring-applied brakes. So any modern trucks today have a spring-applied brake, and then air pressure builds and actually releases the brake. So if you run out of air while you're driving, the brakes automatically come on. Back in the day, that was not a thing, so that's why you used to see so many runaway trucks overturn rigs at the bottom of big hills. You'd get brake fade coming down the hill or run out of air or whatever, and you'd have no brakes at all. This is one of those trucks. So unless the drums are seized to the brakes here, the wheels should theoretically spin, even though they have not spun in probably 30 plus years. Oh my goodness. She is rough. Rough, rough, rough. And I bet you I'm still going to have somebody telling me that I should save this truck, but I just can't see it. Top of the cab's blown out. Holes clean through the door. She is crispy. But I figured we would at least be doing the truck gods a favor if we tried to snag any usable parts off of it before it heads up to the big crusher in the sky. So luckily, to get that truck out of there, we've got some iron around here. This is a late 70s, early 80s Caterpillar 235. What a beauty. This thing started way too easy too. He was just using it before he left though. Days like today are the days that you thank the good Lord above for having big machinery around. Getting the thing out of there actually worked that Cat 235. That's a big machine. And she struggled a little bit getting this thing out of where it's been sleeping for all these years. So there's where she was sitting, right on top of some suction hoses and other junk. You can see where the duals were sunk into the ground right there. Really not sunk in too bad. I think this was probably a parking lot at one time. It probably has some pretty good road base underneath of it. The front tires were sunk in pretty good. This right here is why we had such a problem getting it out, is because it had to initially roll up over that probably a foot or so mound, maybe even more than a foot. A license plate? Oh, this would have been the trailer plate that came off the dump trailer that I got for this truck. Cool. Last plated in 77. Wow. If it's really been sitting since 77, that's going to be impressive if we get this thing going today. But now that it's out of the trees, you guys can really sink your eyes onto it, and what a treasure and a treat it is. My goodness. There's what's left of one of the marker lights. I'm pretty sure this aluminum diamond plate was supposed to be bolted to the fenders at one time. Look at that. I brought a chainsaw thinking I might have to cut some saplings out of the way. I guess I should have brought a leaf blower. The poor headlights. Grill. That whole thing's rotted out of there. What a shame. She would have been a beauty queen back in the day. It is a really good looking truck. Look at the big mouse house falling out of the bottom of the door there. The whole bottom of the cab's gone. Pretty decent looking fuel tanks though. Wonder if those things are any good. The cab is beyond roached. Holy crap. Looks like it had a headliner one time that the mice had an absolute field day with. It is not a big truck. It's a very tight cab in here. Check out that old radio thing going on there. That thing's cool looking. Unfortunately, I think her best days are behind her. Check out that sweet husky on the hood. Back when vehicles had soul. It's a shame they don't make anything like that. Today, all you got is these plastic fantastics running down the highway. Surprised that cowl isn't rotted out. It actually looks pretty good. All that dirt sitting on there for forever, you would have thought that would have been rotted. Oh man, you can really see how bad the top of the cab is here around the windshield. She gone. I kind of knew going in that this wouldn't really be a revival or a truck worth restoring, but it's more about saving what we can off of it. Somebody might need all these trim pieces, you know. Let's have a peek, see what's up underneath this hood. Who knows the last time this thing was opened? Or if we can open it right now. It's not looking good, is it? I can't get this side open. Let's see if we can get to the other side. Amazingly, the hood latches still work. And amazingly, the fender can still support my weight. Yeah, this side opened right up. The locking deal worked to hold it up too. Oh yeah. Some of you guys may not know it, but Cummins actually used to be yellow back in the day, like way back in the day. Everything's still looking really nice under here, actually. I'm really hopeful that we're going to be able to get this thing spinning over and fired up. Cross your fingers. Let's start doing some preliminary checking here. Where's the dipstick at? I don't see a dipstick on this side. Let's go to the other side. There we go. Just needed a good yank. We got good news, we got bad news. Bad news is we had some coolant lines here at one point in time that have completely disintegrated and gone away. They would have run up to the heater core inside the cab. So all the coolant probably drained down to that point of the lowest hose. So that's the bad news. The good news though is that I still see some green coolant peeking out there, and I'm imagining from us sloshing this truck around just now with the hoe, we sloshed some of that coolant out there. So that green coolant tells me that it's not water and it's not frozen up. So the block is probably still okay, providing nothing got into the cylinder area. We're gonna have to get really lucky if we want to drive this thing home, but I'm feeling pretty lucky. What do you guys feel? Let's check this dipstick and get some sort of a sense of what's going on in that engine. Came out nice and easy. It's not all rusted up. The oil looks perfect in this thing. Holy crap. Can you guys see that? It is just golden like you just put it in there yesterday. Huh. It smells okay. What I'm betting happened is it's actually sat for so long that all the particulate has completely settled out of it and turned into sludge at the bottom of the pan. And that's actually just fine. We will be okay. So the oil looks great. I'm feeling really optimistic now that this thing's going to be able to be fired up. So there's no point in checking the coolant since we know that it's already down at least that low. But easy enough, we can just shut these valves and we will have a closed coolant system again by the looks of it. Unless we're missing a bottom hose, but no, we're not. It looks good down there. I don't know what this thing is. Maybe that's a coolant filter. Oh, my mistake. These were not actually heater core lines. I'm looking at the heater core lines up here. That's these big copper ones running inside of the cab. These ones down here look like they were a passive coolant filter, and that's what that little canister is on the side of the block down there. The lines to that thing have gone, so all we have to do to eliminate that is close these handy dandy little valves there and fill it back up with some coolant, and we should be good to go there. That's exciting. Man, we are batting 1,000 so far. I guess the next big thing is just to see if it's stuck. Here's to hoping. The easiest way to check it is probably just going to be to go ahead and jump it directly to the starter, because all those connections coming away from the starter look pretty terrible. Alright, I just cleaned those connections up so we can actually get some contact on there. Let's try to put some power to this starter and see what happens. Alright, with our connections all polished up here, we're ready to go ahead and give this starter some juice. At the other end of these cables I have two 8D batteries rigged up, making 24 volts. So this is probably pretty spicy, but that's what the starter should be. Let's give her a contact. Interesting. That's not what I wanted to see. I can hear the starter is trying, but it seems like the engine is stuck. Now, just from sitting this long, it wouldn't surprise me if it's stuck a little bit, but hopefully we can put a bar on this thing or something and get it to move. If it can't move with a bar on it, we're in for some more work. Alright, I was able to scare up a socket and a breaker bar to fit on the front of the engine here. You guys should be able to see that fan turn if we get this thing to move. I'm really hoping that we can. Ooh. Ain't looking good. Ooh. She is stuck hard. That's exactly what I was afraid of here. That really sucks. All we did there was break the nut loose. I'm quite surprised that we are stuck because I see no means of ingress for water. The engine is pretty well protected from the elements. The hood was closed up on it. The exhaust is a downdraft, so water can't come back up into it. I bet I just spotted our problem where we could have been getting water in at. There's like a breather canister here, right below the engine hinge. I don't know, yeah, there may be a pinhole in it there. I guess it's worth trying to pull off this valve cover and have a gander and see what it's like in there. Kind of a poor design on Cummins' part. You never really want to design something so it could possibly retain water. Oh yeah, look at that. Just disintegrating. Definitely had some water in here, but look at that bug come running out of there. There must be a big hole somewhere that I'm not seeing. Is that a roach? I think that's a roach. Oh man. Get out of here, cockroach. Yeah, definitely some holes in that lid. Oh yeah, she's rotten. Come on off of there, baby. Bad, bad, bad there. Well, that ain't no good. I'm not giving up yet, though. Let's get this valve cover popped off back here and see what the inside story is. Oh, dang it. That is not good, guys. Not good at all. What a shame. I'm feeling much less optimistic about this now. Man, that sucks. Oh, this is unfortunate, but I am rapidly losing steam on this project. I was really holding out hope that that engine would be free. And if it was, I am certain that it would have pretty much just spun right over and fired up. We're not completely done yet, though. There is still a chance we could get this thing to free up. I was just trying to move my truck around here and I'm sliding all over the place, but my tire has just kicked up a wrench. Look at this wrench. Now that is a wrench. Oh, they used to do some big stuff around here. We are back with our sad little Brockway truck here. I brought a secret weapon with me today, and hopefully we can get this engine to break loose. Because if we can get it to turn, I'm confident that we can get it to run. Anybody know what this thing is? It looks like some sort of medieval weapon, but it's not. Although, it is the tool for the job when you want to get medieval on something. This is a chain wrench, it's called. Basically, you wrap this chain around whatever you want to turn, and I mean whatever you want to turn. And if it can, it will be gripped and it will be turned. I hope this chain is long enough to get around the damper on the flywheel there. I actually just made an Instagram post as I was walking out of the shop with this thing, asking people that very question. If they knew what this tool was, if they knew what I was going to use it on, and if they thought it was going to work. That last part remains to be seen, but this chain will actually bite onto whatever it is, and you'll get some serious leverage out of this thing with a nice long handle, plus I can put a cheater pipe on it. Well, unfortunately, the chain on our wrench here is not quite long enough to go around the dampener there. So I can take this thing back to the shop and stab on a few more chain links, and maybe we'd be able to get it, but Well, it's been an incredibly busy summer. Haven't had any time to mess with our poor Brockway here at all. But I need to get it out of here. It'd be a lot easier to tinker on in the little bit of spare time I have here and there if it was back at the shop. So came up here to scout it out, make sure I can get the truck in here, get turned around and haul this thing out of here. There's also a set of discs over there that I have bought I need to load up, and a few other odds and ends. So let's go grab the low boy and come back for our Brockway. All right, let's see if we can't get this Cummins cracked loose here. Maybe 5 months in the healing weeds really fix this thing, and it's just gonna fire up. You know, we can be optimistic, right? So if you guys remember back when we were working on this thing in the spring, I had this chain wrench, but it was not quite big enough to wrap around the snout of the crank there. So I added some chain onto it to make it long enough. Hopefully it should fit now. That sucker is tight. Ugh. All right, I don't think we're going to be able to get it to move with just the chain wrench. Unfortunately, I think at this moment we're going to have to dive a little bit deeper into the engine. I was really hoping to avoid that, but doesn't seem avoidable anymore. Pop the hood off of here to get a little better access and then start trying to figure out which cylinders we think are affected. I would assume it's number 6, but you know what they say about assuming. It might look pretty crusty, and it is. But this hood is one of the items that's in pretty good shape and salvageable if somebody was restoring one of these, so I'm trying not to destroy it here. Okay, so we had that valve cover off back a few months ago. These other two we have not had off of here. I guess we're going to find out the real story here in just a second when we pop these off of here. So we've already seen behind door number 1 back a few months ago, and things definitely don't look good in there. These other two valve covers, though, you know, they look like they've been reasonably sealed up. There's no other way the water could have got in there. This one, obviously, like we discussed earlier, the breather was the point of ingress for that water. So I guess it's time to see what's behind doors number 2 and 3. Drum roll, please. Go ahead and drop your comments below and let me know before I pull this off of here what you guys think is waiting for us behind this. Have you left your comment? Dun dun dun! Oh, no! Oh, that does not look good. How is that water even getting in there? Boy, I don't know. That does not look good for this engine. That is some thick, nasty, scaly rust. Oh man, if it looks like that, what do the cylinders look like? Well, I guess we got nothing to do but pull off number 3. What about number 3? You guys leave your comments on number 3. Say what do you guys think? Gonna be more the same, or is it gonna be looking good? Oh no! Not as bad as the second one, but definitely not good either. Oh, what a shame. You can actually, you guys ever open up like a musty basement or something and you get that musty water smell? I just got that kind of wafting up out of the valve train. That can't be good at all. I don't know, guys. I was feeling really optimistic about this whole thing at the beginning, but I'm not feeling so hot anymore. That musty water smell, like flood water smell, is really still wafting out of the engine bad. I checked the dipstick and we are quite a bit over full, but the engine's also leaning towards the dipstick, not to mention it's crystal clear oil even after I shook it up, you know, moving it over here. We could crack a drain bolt and see how much water drains out of the oil pan. That's probably a smart move. I was also sitting here kind of thinking about how we could have gotten water into these 2 valve covers, even though they appeared to be well sealed. The gaskets and everything broke loose as I popped them up there. I don't remember if I showed that part on camera or not. I kind of just had them sitting on there for you guys to see me take them off. But the gaskets appeared to still be gasketing, if you will. Anyways, my theory as to how we got so rusty on the front cylinders and not just the back one is because the water would have come in this valve cover, gone down, filled the oil pan up, and the moisture just, you know, rises, and it would have all just hung out in the valve covers, and that's why our rockers and valve train is so rusty. I can only theorize as to why number 2 here is the rustiest out of the bunch, but yeah, I guess the next move is going to be, we'll check the oil pan, see how much water comes out of there, and then I want to pull this rocker box off, and then the injectors on cylinders 5 and 6, and maybe we'll stick the Borescope down in there and see what we can see. Well, the plug turned way easier than I thought it was gonna. These are aluminum oil pans, so the plugs can get pretty well galled in there. Oh yeah, see that water dripping out of there? Let me get a pan, we'll pull the plug out and see how much is actually in there. I think we're getting to the end of the water. Yeah, we're about into all oil now. Oh. "99% water. That's not good. It's actually a fair bit of work to pull one of these heads off of here. In case you don't know, this is 3 individual heads. and especially the back one that we need to pull off is probably the hardest to get off. I suspect that's going to be the one, if not more than one, that is full of water. So maybe potentially we can soak this thing down and get it turning over again. If it turns over, I feel sort of confident that we could maybe get it to run. And you guys have seen this truck. It's fully just for the sake of saying we could get it to run at this point. I don't think that this engine is really worth putting a lot of effort into. So I'm going to do what I can, and if we're not successful, we're not successful. Unfortunately, you just can't save them all. I think I already actually have this truck sold, though, impressively enough. I sent some pictures to some friends the other day, and one of them's a Brockway guy. So for what I paid for it, I think he might come save it. There's enough little knick-knack pieces on here that he thinks it's going to be worth it. So that's better than seeing it go to the scrapyard, in my opinion. But anyway, let's pop this rocker box off and see what we can do. Oh yeah. Crusty. I mean, I guess theoretically we should get the shop vac and suck out all this rust and crusty stuff before it really gets down to the crank or down to the bottom end, but does it really matter at this point? I don't know. Alright, well, after pulling that first rocker box off there and seeing just how stuck the rockers really are, I kind of formulated a new reason in my head why this engine might not want to turn so much, and it's because all the rockers are seized. I think every one of them. I mean, I haven't been able to get a single wiggle or a hint of a wiggle out of any of them. And if every push rod can't turn, that means the camshaft can't turn, which in turn means the crankshaft can't turn. Because if the water actually came in through the valve covers, I suspect it did, theoretically, it should never be able to get into the cylinder. It would only be able to get into the bottom end, which, as you guys saw, we drained. It did. The exhaust is such that I don't think it could have ever actually got into the cylinders. So I'm not saying we won't pull an injector, but it's pretty easy from the position that I'm at right now to just go ahead and pull the other two rocker boxes and see what happens. There's a free rocker. It's the first one I've seen. It's also the best looking one, I think, out of the bunch. They don't all necessarily need to be seized, just a good majority of them. If it was just one or two maybe, you would just bend a push rod and you would still turn your engine. But if they're all stuck, I could totally see it holding up the whole engine. Oh my goodness, the crap. The rust just falling down in the engine. But at this point, does it really matter? I don't think so. Half of the second rocker box that we pulled off over here, the front half of it was seized up solid. And then the first one that we had pulled off there for cylinders 5 and 6 was rusted up hard. I've even tapped on it with a hammer. They don't budge. Now, I'm not saying the engine is free now, but I'm saying we have a lot better chance now, that's for sure. So let me throw the chain wrench back on the snout of the crank, see if we can't get this thing to turn. All right, well, let's cross our fingers here that maybe we did something to help our case. You guys keep an eye on the fan. I'm gonna try not to blow a blood vessel while I'm lifting it up on this pipe here. Nothing. Ugh. Dang it. I was really feeling hopeful about this. Things are not looking good for our little Cummins here. Oh man. I was laying underneath here getting the chain for the chain wrench positioned properly, and I happened to look over. That is the oil siphon tube, which pulls oil from the oil pan up to the oil pump. on these early engines, it was external like that, and I have never seen a hydraulic hose, because that's effectively what that is. It's a braided steel hydraulic hose. I've never seen one look that rough and not blow out. Like, that's beyond bad. I'd probably put my finger through that if it wasn't for poking myself for all the rusted steel cables, but that is nasty looking. If we would, by some miracle, get this thing fired up at this point, I bet you the oil pump would just suck that thing and collapse it right away. That's not good. Well, I'm giving it all that I can muster on the end of that bar, which is attached to our crank dampener. And I'm not sure that the pulley's gonna stand for it, but I think, just for giggles, I might try to lift it with the Takeuchi here. Because what have we got to lose, really? I'll answer that for you. Nothing. She is stuck hard. This thing is locked up tighter than 2 coats of paint. So I did some thinking. As you may be able to tell by now, I'm a bit of an out loud thinker. Sometimes I can't think through a problem until I actually say it out loud and talk about it to myself. For better or for worse, that's how my mind works. So after I was talking about the rockers being all locked up and that could be contributing to our stuck situation, I was thinking a bit more, and it is still in my mind unlikely that water has actually gotten into the cylinders, as I explained before. What we probably have going on that I didn't think about is the underside of the pistons, wherever they happen to be in the cylinder liner, is the underside is probably really, really rusted up. And so instead of being rusted from the top up, they're rusted from the bottom up. And that would also stick our engine pretty hard. So that could be a contributing factor to what we have going on here. Not to mention, it is possible for water to get into the cylinders, albeit a little tougher. What it can do basically is follow the valve stem down through the head and into the cylinder. Now that is, like I said, a little less likely on account of it's a tight tolerance between the valve guide and the valve stem. But it can happen. Moisture can wick its way into lots of places you don't want it. So the very last thing I'm ready to try on this thing is we're going to try to pull out this injector. Since it's the worst, nastiest looking one, we'll stick a Borescope down in there and really have a good gander at the condition of the cylinder and see if it's full of water or if it looks okay. Oh. That does not look good. Let's see what's behind injector number 2 here. There we go. About the same as the other one. Really, that injector seals down around this tip, and it's not rusty down there, so maybe it's okay in the cylinders. Alright, I broke out the Borescope here. I'm going to attempt to show you guys what's going on down inside of this cylinder. It's pretty tough to get this to show up on camera because of the glare on the screen and whatnot. So here we go down through our injector bore. Oh, things are not looking good. Oh, that's a pile of rust, but I think that rust is mostly from us just pulling out that injector. So that's the forward view. This piston is pretty close to the top. We'll switch it to the side view and see what we got. Oh, we can see the crusties on the bottom of the valve there. You can kind of see that ring that we're looking at. That's the bottom of one of the valves. And the cylinder wall does not look good. Look at all that crummy chunkage over there, that white stuff. I'm trying to rotate things for you guys. Oh man. Yeah, that's not good. That is really, really rusted over in there. So we definitely got more than a little bit of water into this cylinder at some point in time. Less than ideal. And if I had money to bet, I think that the underside of the pistons, like the bottom of this cylinder where it's exposed to the bottom end, was probably more rusted than this. I do not think we're going to have any luck with this engine. If that's just what this is number 5 we're in right now. Let's get out of here and go check out number 6. Oh, there we go. That valve was open. You can see it's got rust coming in on it, so it's had water come down through the valve there. Well, you know what? This cylinder's not bad. Yeah, still shiny in here. That's not bad. Let's switch it to the front view, see what the top of the piston looks like. And there we go, that's the top of the piston. You can see this little bit of rust in the center of the piston here is probably just what came down when we pulled the injector. But you can still see the edges of the piston there to the left. It's got a rust ring. So it's not like it's beautiful. It's probably had some moisture in here, but not nearly as much as that other cylinder, that's all. Well, let's take a moment and bow our heads. Because there's good news and there's bad news. I think most of you guys at this point probably know what the bad news is. She's pooched. She's gone, she's roached, she's foobar, she is NFG. There's just not a whole lot of reason to go any further here. But there is a silver lining. So we have some good news. Rather than sending this thing off to Brookman's to be turned into razor blades and fidget spinners, I conned one of my buddies into buying this thing. I don't mean I really conned him. He came out here and looked at it. He knows what he's getting. But he's a Brockway guy, and he's like me. He doesn't want to see another one of these old girls wind up in the scrap heap. He seems to think there's enough little odds and ends on this truck to make it worth giving me what I gave for it. And that's all I can ask for, because I gave about scrap value for it. So the only thing I'm really losing out on this deal is the amount of time that I have in pulling it out of the woods and dragging it home here and really going through it. I like doing this stuff anyways. If you haven't been able to tell by now, it really just warms my heart to see something like this saved and not wind up in the scrapyard to begin with. It's not that I necessarily want to save all this stuff, it's that I'd like to help find it a home. In some ways, you might say that this whole place is kind of like Diesel Creek's intermediate home for wayward scrap. I don't necessarily want to keep all these things I drag back. I mean, I think that a lot of viewers think that I have intentions of restoring every single piece of equipment that I'd bring in here, and that is not the case at all. I never really get to sit down and discuss things like this with you guys, so I guess taking a couple seconds now doesn't hurt. But my main goal in this whole adventure of life here at this point is to be saving as much of this old junk as I can, because when they're gone, they're gone. They're not making any more stuff like this. You're never going to see another Brockway roll off the line, at least not in this form and fashion. Somebody may buy up the name rights and put that name on a truck again someday, but it's not going to be the same thing. Even though this particular truck may never roll down the road again, it will live on in some ways through pieces parts that go to other vehicles that are hopefully going to be going down the road again. And keeping those guys going as long as possible is the name of the game. So it's a bittersweet end for the Brockway, but at least it's going on to greener pastures. I did have high hopes when I first drug this thing out of the woods there. Unfortunately, they don't all pan out. And that's another reason I'm posting this video. Some people don't like when I post the videos that things didn't work out on. But I think it's important to keep people coming up in this hobby grounded. Not everything you drag out of the woods is a home run. They don't all just come right back to life. They don't all function as they should. Most of these things were parked for a reason, or if they weren't, time is just not easy on things. Mother Nature is especially brutal on thin metalled objects like trucks. Dozers and heavy equipment and the like tend to be built out of a lot heavier, thicker metals that take a lot longer for nature to really work her magic on. So when it comes to trucks, in my mind at least, it's a lot bigger gamble than it is with, say, something like a dozer. Anyways, I know this wasn't exactly a home run, but I hope you guys appreciated the video anyways. If you did, let me know by leaving a comment down below and hitting that thumbs up button. It really helps out the channel. Doesn't cost you guys a dime. If you would like to help support the channel in a little more direct way, you can head on over to dieselcreek.com. Pick yourself up some sweet swag over at the store. We've got hats, t-shirts, beer koozies, and we're coming into fall. Unfortunately, the leaves are changing, the mornings and the nights are getting cold. If you don't have a nice zip-up hoodie, consider picking yourself up a Diesel Creek one over at the store. Once again, that's dieselcreek.com. Link, as always, is down in the description. But that's all I got for today, guys. So until the next one, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later. Would it be inappropriate to play taps right now? Another clapped out road warrior is officially gone.